Hey there, kerbonauts! This is Dauntless Sam, and welcome back to Reach for the Stars in Kerbal Space Program version 0.23. Today, we'll be building a rocket and lander for the moon. So now we'll just jump into the vehicle assembly building, look at some of that new tech that we've got going here. Let's see, what do we want to land on, or use to land this thing? Probably command pod like usual. Let's look at our basic stuff. We've got some jet engines, which are nice. We've got larger fuel tanks, also very nice. Let's see. Got quite a few more structural components here. Now, what have we got science-wise? I don't think we'll need the science lab as of yet. But we do have a thermometer, which will make it so we can do quite a bit more science out and about. But as usual, add a science junior on here, and the usual goo containers on top. There we go. And then just add a thermometer just for kicks and giggles here. Also, adding some parachutes so we don't have to worry about these things later. Some new things that we have lights which make landing a bit easier. Those will go on last, actually. But we also do have solar panels. We'll add a few here and there, just so we don't run out of electric charge. And we do should put on a couple of batteries here, just so we don't have to worry about power. Next, we'll add a landing stage, which I believe will be very similar to the previous one, though probably a bit more fuel would be good. Here's the return stage with one of those engines. Put a couple of... Actually, we're going to go with 4. We're going to step it up here. It's going to take a bit more fuel to get the landing craft there, but we'll be sure to get home with so much fuel. There we go. Add some engines. And we do have fuel lines. Drop our symmetry down and run the fuel. I didn't want 4. I just wanted 2. Will it keep the symmetry for me? No, it won't. So I've got to go back to single and do it manually here. Now the fuel runs from first click to second click with these fuel lines. Now let's see, we're going to add some struts just to be safe and secure here. And that was not 4 times symmetry. Symmetry is your friend in Kerbal Space Program. Having an unbalanced spacecraft can cause some weird issues. So there we go. We've got a bit more of a landing craft here. We'll need some landing gear. Which will drop a little bit lower, just to make sure that we are good for landing on the gear rather than the engines. And then we can add some landing lights to help with telling how high we are off the moon, just in case we have to land on the dark side. And we'll add a few more solar panels just to be safe. Which should give us a pretty good shot at not running out of power. How big is this battery here? Oh, it's not too big. But I think we'll be good with just the 2 battery packs. It's about 280 power. And we actually have generation for it now. Now let's see. What have we got now? We've got to build our launch stage on top of this. Or under this, actually. I think this decoupler is a little big. Can I get it on just this one? How does that look? Oh, it actually couples like that. We're going to go with the larger decoupler, because I believe we're going to go with a larger fuel tank. If I can find it. There it is. The problem with this fuel tank is, though, that we're going to have to stack them because we don't have the larger sections. And with the small version of the Rockomax engines. It's quite a lot more engine compared to the others, but because this one has 50, which is what we have up here, and this one's 220, which is about the same as these larger engine, or these small engines like this. As you can see, comparison-wise, they're about the same. But I believe the specific impulse, or the efficiency of the engine, is slightly better. Yes. So that should help us get up out of the atmosphere and transferred over to the moon. Now, continuing on, this is going to be a tall rocket, which means lots of struts to make sure we don't break anything important on our way up. That should hold that section in place. Now, add another decoupler. But this time we're going to add some slightly different engines on top of this stack. So first, a few more fuel tanks. I think we'll stack to 4. This is a little bit unwieldy of a rocket, but we can add this structural support to stack to 3 engines, which we'll connect. Unfortunately, the symmetry's doing weird things with this. We'll drop it down to single symmetry and do each one of these manually. Because going from the large tanks to a smaller adapter can do some weird things, but having those extra connection points, even though they're not straight, will help. And I believe that that piece does have fuel flow. If not, we'll have to get off the launch pad and try again. But this way we can stack 3 of these engines and get 3 times as much power as one of these engines. At the cost of a bit more fuel, but we should be good there. Though I think at this point we need to do a test. Let's see. Add a stage. Change the clamps. I've got those rockets will fire, but the clamps should hold on to it. Now, the Moon or Bust spacecraft. Moon or Bust. Test. Here we go. Saving. Launch this thing. Should be Jebediah Kerman in the pilot seat for our engine burn test. We're already looking a little unstable, but let's see what happens whenever we try that. Does look like the fuel does transfer through. Now, can this thing hold itself up under thrust? No, it cannot. Oh no! Oh! Jebediah Kerman is back in the hospital. There is not much I could do for that. This will require some extra finagling. I believe we can take this off, take out 1 fuel tank. Fortunately, that was only a simulation. So Jeb's fine. Let's try that again with 1 less fuel tank. And here we go. Full throttle. Hit the rockets. Drop the launch clamps. Still not quite enough. And we're good. Beautiful. Now we can get a little science out of this. Log the temperature. Take a crew report. Observe the materials bay. Observe some goo. Observe the other goo. And recover this flight. And we got 15 science out of that. We can jump back into the assembly building. First of all, need to lower this. That was much more successful. And I believe that that's just enough thrust that we can at least keep our speed, our velocity, up at that point. So from here, we need to add some extra boosters. I believe we will try a new test with some fuel tanks here. What can these little poodle fuel tanks launch with on their own? We'll try it with 3 tanks of fuel and 1 of these engines and 2 launch clamps each. We should be good. And launch. Now hopefully this can support its own weight with fuel to spare. Unfortunately not. We will revert that flight to the assembly building. Try it with our slightly modified engine stage here. Launch this one, see what happens. And there we go. That seems to be enough. Unfortunately, this probe body does not have much torque. And you can see us veering off quite quickly, even with the SAFs on. That seems like a good booster section I can add on top of some solid rocket boosters we can use at the beginning. So we'll load up our Munar bus test. And we will take off the launch clamps. I believe it is Alt-click, and that copies this section. And then I can add these large launch clamp, or these large decouplers, radial decouplers. Slap those on there at 4 times symmetry. And there we go. Actually, I think there are some different decouplers that I want to use. These are much easier to have clean separations with. There we go, and all the struts. Add some to this section. Oh. Unfortunately, having some issues. There we go. A couple more on top, and that should hold steady. Now, because of how these wheels, or these work, we're going to add some reaction wheels. So we have a little control over the spacecraft as we're launching it. Because all of these engines, none of them gimbal, unfortunately. So, now that we have that done, we can add some boosters. See, we'll add 4 there. 4 there. Grab these large rocket boosters. Unfortunately, the placement on those decouplers are a little odd, but we'll fix that. Once we... There we go. We can grab these by the decouplers, even them out, and make sure they're not too high. And again, more struts. This is how you get away with attaching so many boosters to things. First, we will connect them across between boosters. This is getting more stable as we go. Now, this should be able to get off the ground at least. So we'll see how well this goes. And first, we want to switch to some other crew. Jinbul hasn't been on a mission in a while. Take him off, Jebediah off. Add Jinbul. And go back to fix our staging. Everything looks good. I don't believe I'm missing any pieces that I need other than launch clamps. Those are important. 4 launch clamps should do it. We'll drop it down so it's not quite so high off the ground to start. Now to fix the staging. Oh, wait, no. I wanted to do fuel. That was something I was forgetting. We'll go to fuel. We have these handy ducts. Unfortunately, we'll have to do them manually, one at a time. So we'll move that there. Move this fuel to here so we can drop away stages as they run out. And let's see, we want this fuel running to there, and this fuel running here. Now that should make things a lot more efficient, because we can drop away empty tanks and engines as we go, so we don't have to carry along the weight. Now the fun part is getting the staging right. So we have all of these boosters ready. We want the launch clamps with it. All of those will drop away. We want to combine these detachment stages. These engines need to fire right at the beginning. Are these the center engines? Yes, we want these 3 engines to also fire at the beginning. This reminds me of some Russian rockets where they just keep adding liquid fuel engines because they couldn't build in their space program. They couldn't build the larger, efficient engines. They just never got them developed, so they just added more. They added their best, most efficient engines and most reliable ones, and they just kept adding. There was one rocket that they built that had nearly 30 liquid engines on the bottom. The problem was, if you have that many, one of them's going to mess up. Like, one of them is probably going to fail. Now, detaching all of these side tanks is going to be a whole nother thing. Open that up and see what we've got. So we're going to drop these tanks, the front and back tanks, first. So we'll just deselect all of those. So this tank will go into this stage. Open up that again. And this will go into that stage. So that way we'll drop these 2 tanks first. Now I'm wondering about these boosters, how they're going to detach. I guess it'll be spectacular either way. But moving on, we've got this detachment, which we want to start this engine here. I feel as though I should probably add some reaction wheels somewhere. Hard choices here. But at least we have, with that decoupler and that that engine separating at the same time. And we'll have this engine fire at the same time. We've got the parachutes at the end, and they are actually there. save it. It looks like we are mostly good, though I think I am going to add some more control surfaces here. How easy is it for me to add this? Not attached. Okay, can I add it with a girder segment? This will add weight, but it should make it easier to turn the rocket around as it goes. It looks weird, adds weight, but it'll make it easier to steer this thing. And all of these engines do produce power, so we should be good, though I do believe I should add a few more batteries, just to be safe. Especially with this stage that we will drop behind. But that should be plenty of power to run these reaction wheels as we go. Oh yes, and I forgot, we did change the staging on this. So we'll have all four of these fire. Unfortunately, I separated that stack. All four of those fire with this one, so I didn't need to separate like that. But these get to take off the front and back engine first. The front engine here, move it over to the staging. That way, with how the fuel lines are run, we'll drop 2 empty tanks when we don't need them. And there we go. All seems well. We're going to save this, set it down on the launch pad, and see how it goes. If it holds together, that is the main test. Will it hold together? Looks like we need to add some more struts. I can already tell. Revert to the assembly building. Grab structural. Get up to 4 times symmetry. That should help there. Add a few more. And let's see. And again I say, struts are your friend. Now, hopefully, while it does look quite silly, it will be much more stable on the launch pad. If it's not stable on the launch pad, you're going to have issues on the launch. Physics have been enabled. It looks much better. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked the video, please do like the video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you think anyone else would enjoy this video, don't be afraid to share it. This is Dauntless Sam. Thanks for watching.